Round 10 about to get underway here, and championship leader John Reynolds was far from happy with his third place last time out, so you can be sure he'll be doing his utmost this time to do something about Neil Hodgson and Chris Walker, if indeed he can do anything about Neil Hodgson and Chris Walker, because it seems to me that since their World Superbike race at Donington Park, they've raised their game. Talking of Hodgson and Walker, is it going to be one win apiece, or will Chris Walker do the double? Well, there's only one way to find out.
Tense moments there on the grid as Hodgson gets the starter on his bike. Walker's bike already going as they prepare for round 10.
The man with the red flag moves out of the way. The lights will go from red to green. 22 laps again ahead of them. Very focused and electric was the start. The only word I can use by Neil Hodgson on the right-hand side of your picture, but just eclipsed going into the corner by Chris Walker, who came from the middle, moved across to the left to get the ideal optimum line as they go into Riches the first time, and it's Chris Walker leading. Hodgson is third. No, he's not. He's in second. Diving through on the inside of number 3, John Reynolds. On the red Team Revy Racing, number 3, Ducati, again in third. 3 on the bike, third in the race. Not where John Reynolds wants to be. He gave away valuable points in round 9. He is determined to make amends this time. Chris Walker knows full well that 25 points this time out will work wonders for his championship challenge. We are not yet halfway through the season. After here we go to Silverstone, then it's Alton, then it's Knockhill, then it's Cadwell, Mallory, Brands, and the whole circus wraps up with the finale at Donington Park, and thousands of people will be at Donington to see the conclusion of this riveting championship. That is Marty Craghill. Good performance in round 9, but he's off it, lying on the... See the sparks from the bike, his head almost on the tarmac there. Marty Craghill went down very, very heavily on the exit from the S's, but the race goes on. John Crawford, who crashed at the start of round 9, is lying there in 6th place. And let me tell you very quickly, Shane Byrne, who was taken to hospital as a result of that crash, has been fully examined. He's very battered and bruised. They thought he had internal injuries, but he's going to be okay. We might even see Shane Byrne back at Silverstone, so that is tremendous news for the Harris Honda squad. Chris Walker leading, the familiar side of his leathers billowing, slightly over large he wears his leathers. He obviously likes to be able to move around the bike with his all-action style. John Reynolds now under real pressure from his teammate, number 5, James Hayden. These 4 breaking away. Another solid ride from number 7, Mackenzie, who is Hodgson's teammate. He's there in 5th. Ben Atkins on the right there, chewing the gum, very focused. He knows his man's got to do well this time because the championship lead, Roger, is evaporating.
Well, I think John Reynolds is doing an excellent job. He's not trying to pass Neil Hodgson at this stage, which means that they're actually catching Chris Walker, and that's Hislop. Steve Hislop's been off the track somewhere. That is at Sears Corner, so Hislop will not be too happy with that. Now that's the look in Chris Walker's garage. So back at the front, and this time down the straight, Neil Hodgson has managed to close on Chris Walker and pass him. So Reynolds did the right thing by staying behind. The only problem is that man, bike number 5, James Hayden, has been allowed to catch this leading group, and James Hayden on the move is a dangerous man, and this is the overtaking manoeuvre on board with Chris Walker, and you see that's at Sears Corner. So we're now, you'll see Hodgson come into your picture there, and you see that's what Chris Walker can see, those 2 eyes poking at him from under the seat of that big 1000cc Ducati.
It certainly punches out of the bends, but Walker closes up on the brakes again, riding on board a very unlucky fly on the right-hand side of the camera lens there. Walker has smitten him on the way down, and now he pops out of the slipstream, looking on the right-hand side of Neil Hodgson, but there's no way through. The 25-year-old Burnley rider, going to be so canny this time, does not want Chris Walker to find any way past. Look how close John Reynolds is as well this time. He knows he's got to do something to get past this pair if he's going to have any chance of preserving his championship lead going into the second half of the season. Tailenders now ahead of them, crucial times. James Hayden has made it an 8-wheeler. He has closed up. We have a freight train at the S's. When you see the pit garages looking in intently, I can tell you now they're gazing into television monitors. They are watching exactly the same action on track as we are watching now, and riveting action it is too. Coram curve, out of Coram, the long way round, he's left the door open. Chris Walker left a huge gap there for John Reynolds, and he needs no second bidding at the Russell chicane. Through goes John Reynolds, away out they come now, up the start-finish straight, past the public address commentary point on the left-hand side, number 6, Sean Emmett, number 12, the big Welshman, Paul Jones being lapped, and this is Reynolds going through.
Chris Walker actually ran wide, and the front of his tyre may not be gripping too well. That allowed Reynolds the opportunity to get alongside Chris Walker. Reynolds doesn't need a second invitation, I can tell you, but it's not like Chris Walker to make a mistake like that.
Well, the track temperature was just under 30 degrees when they went out this time. The sun has come out. It's a lot warmer here. There might be a little bit more grip for John Reynolds. They're all using Dunlop shod bikes now. One tyre manufacturer on all the factory bikes. That makes it that much more even. But there is, of course, a choice of compounds, choice of hardness. Hodgson hopefully thinks he's made the right choice. Reynolds certainly a lot closer than he was in the previous race, and he means business. John Reynolds won this championship in 1992. He leads it now. He's riding as well as I personally have ever seen him, and he looks hungry. He was so hard on himself after the first race, in fact punished himself, wouldn't talk to anybody. I think they were lucky to get the interview. Look at the traffic. Number 77, Brett Sampson, and now this could be Hodgson's undoing, because if he gets caught up in the traffic, Reynolds will dive past.
Well, anxious moments, and the blue flag's been waved. That signifies that the faster riders are approaching the slow riders. That's for their benefit, not for these guys' benefit. Chris Walker got it a little bit loose there. He actually went off the side of the track, and this is the view on board with Chris Walker. You can see he almost tries to go up the inside of John Reynolds there, thinks the better of it, but that approach to the corner meant that he went on the rumble strips on the exit, and in typical Chris Walker fashion, he didn't lose any ground. He's made that up. But this time John Reynolds is looking to get into the slipstream of Neil Hodgson as they go down this long straight towards the S's.
In sixth place, you can see there John Crawford recovering really well as taking the lead. It's John Reynolds who dives past Neil Hodgson, so flicking through the S's. Reynolds leads, number 3, so he is riding like a man inspired. Hodgson relegated to second. Is it going to be a double second place for Neil Hodgson? Mind you, it'll be 40 points. Chris Walker appears to be sliding an awful lot. Could be that he's got handling problems with the Suzuki. They're certainly dropping Chris Walker away. Reynolds dives past Gordon Blackley, who recovered from his first race crash. He's running well, but of course he's just been lapped by the race leader Reynolds. And looking forward now with Walker as he goes past the traffic. There's Hodgson on the left-hand side of your picture. The Ducati punches along the straight a little bit quicker than the Suzuki, but look how quickly Walker closes in on the brakes when it matters.
Well, these bikes are different to ride. The Suzuki versus the Ducati, different power characteristics mean that the riders have to do different things on each of those individual bikes. But this is the overtaking manoeuvre by John Reynolds. He came out of the slipstream of Neil Hodgson, outbraked him down there into the S's, and now heads this. Now, Reynolds will have been watching everything that Neil Hodgson has done, and that's going to now give him an advantage going into the closing stages.
And into the closing stages we are as Neil Hodgson pops a wheelie out of the S's, and as he begins his last lap, Neil Hodgson goes over the line for the final lap in second place. But the race leader, John Reynolds, the sun is well and truly out here at Snetterton, and a huge capacity record crowd are thrilling to this one. Tailenders then skillfully past Neil Hodgson. Chris Walker has been somewhat dropped away now. Clearly there's a problem for the Suzuki rider, but he's hanging on grimly in third place. It's now a battle between the number 3 and the number 4 Ducati, and it's fair to say there's absolutely nothing between these two bikes. Both works machinery, almost an ideal spec, almost an ideal setup, and I'd go so far as to say, although they wouldn't share it, they would even have virtually the same gearing. But it's Reynolds, John Reynolds, the 34-year-old. John Reynolds leading the race. The gap now with Hodgson closing it a little bit, trying as hard as he can round Coram Curve, squirting it down for the last time towards Russell's. Hard on the brakes now, carefully John round here. 50 miles an hour out of Russell's, then driving away up the straight. The checkered flag is in sight for John Reynolds. He's going to win this one. He's going to redeem his third place in round 9 and win it. John Reynolds does. Just about composed as ever. There, Roger Marshall, the man with the headphones on, team manager, a lot more relieved this time out. His man has done it, and Neil Hodgson, second in the race, first to congratulate the winner, John Reynolds.
Over 104 miles an hour average for that 22-lap race win there for John Reynolds, and confirmation of the result. Reynolds from Hodgson and Walker a good third. And Reynolds still heading the championship standings from Hodgson and Walker. James Hayden would like to have been nearer the front, I think. And there we have Shane Byrne in 13th place, and he will not add to his score this weekend.
Well, Chris, they don't come any faster than that, and you started in great style, and my money was on you.
Yeah, I mean, everything looked like it was going real good. I got a good start, just pulled a little bit of a gap, and then the Ducati boys wore me down, and I was just sliding around, to be fair. The back end of the bike was just a bit loose, and when they upped the pace just that bit more, I could stay with them for a while, and then once the tyre was a bit more spent, I was doomed, really, and just started dropping back. But glad to get on the rostrum again, and some good solid points.
Well, Neil, that was quick, but it looked as though the back markers might have worked against you that time. Is that the case?
No, well, yes and no. You know, it weren't the back markers' fault. They were going pretty well, actually. I just didn't get a good run out of the chicane. I thought I could pass them both on horsepower, and I didn't quite manage that. So I managed to outbrake one of them, but the other one got in the way a little bit. And you know, that's racing. John rode really well, and he certainly deserved to win.
That's a bit more like the smiling John Reynolds I know.
Yeah, I was disappointed, Barry, with that first race. You know, I was mortified in actual fact. I was there or thereabouts. I was in third place, but no way I was going to win the race, and I don't really enjoy that. But of course, we sorted ourselves out the second race and went out and did it.
So John Reynolds lifts the trophy, a big smile, and there's Catherine, Neil Hodgson's girlfriend, with the camera at the ready, and the champagne corks pop, and everybody gets wet.
Well, that's it from Snetterton. Again, very close racing from the men at the top of the championship. Rounds 11 and 12 of this series come from Silverstone. And you've heard from the riders themselves, they can't wait till Silverstone. And as a matter of fact, neither can the thousands of spectators who flock regularly to these events. And we're pretty excited about it too. So don't miss Silverstone, whatever you do.